Morning, everyone. Welcome to another This Might Hurt. Happy Wednesday to you, hump day. It's halfway through the week. We are moving along steadily. I was listening to Adam Ellenboss today talking about Mars at the 0 degrees of Aries, I think he was talking about. Or I might have that wrong. I can't remember. But just the part I do remember was the confrontation, right? The confrontation. And not necessarily, he said, not necessarily in a bad way, like not a big to do, but something, needing to confront something. So I wonder what that's all about. I wasn't paying super close attention, but if that resonates with you, then Alan Ellenboss, Nightlight Astrology, go check him out. He's got a good video today. All right, let's get started with energies for today. There we go. The Fool in reverse. So something is, I was going to say a failed start, but I don't want to say a failed because I don't think it was failed. I think it was a false start. I think we've lost some momentum on something, some cycle that was meant to close out and restart in a different way, maybe perpetuating in some way, shape, or form. It might be you not ready for the new start, being a little bit, maybe you're stuck in the, I don't want to say stuck. I keep wanting to say it and not wanting to say it at the same time. Maybe you're stuck. Maybe that's what it is. I don't want to admit the word stuck. And if you're stuck in a situation, then I guess by definition, that would mean you have very little control over it. I don't like to not have control over my situation. It's funny, we asked some warm-up questions yesterday in our group, and one of the questions was, how can you tell when something is within your control or not? And everybody answered with these really, awesome answers, right? Being self-aware. Most of them said, if it doesn't have anything to do with me, then I probably can't control it, those kind of things. And my answer was, you know what? I don't think I figured it out yet. So maybe that's wanting to control things that you can't control or not controlling those things that you can. We talked about that a little bit yesterday with the Page of Swords in reverse, but and I don't feel like this is actually being stuck as much as it's a feeling of being stuck, right? I'm starting to read reversal cards as awareness of, as opposed to a different energy, but the awareness that you may be beginning to repeat a cycle. And if you're aware that you are about to repeat a cycle, then by definition, you can step off the path and change it, right? So I like that. I like that we're aware of our stuckness or our stagnation or our inability to move forward on our new path, or sometimes you just want to repeat the cycle for whatever reason. I love the King of Wands in this deck because she's female. And I was talking about that with a friend of mine on Circle this past weekend, and the reading that she had done for me was, was it the reading? No, she did some numerology. I was a 24/6, which equated to like the Queen of Wands, and I was telling her that I love this King of Wands because it's a queen in the card, and there was some banter about that, but the King of Wands being the watching the creation, right, with the boundaries and overseeing it and just letting it grow on its own, right? She's not controlling that fire, but she's containing it, not letting it get out of control, right? Letting it burn, do its thing, but there's very strong rock boundaries around it, right? And she's not necessarily dominating it, but she's just keeping an eye on it, right? Keeping an eye on that creative thing that's happening. Letting the thing grow with its own energy, but setting the proper boundaries to keep it contained and not let it hurt. Like that could turn into wildfire, right? That could hurt people. We have to contain those things and knowing when and where and how to contain that and get the most amount of growth with the least amount of restrictions. I love that. Love that for us. What's next? What is next? We've got the Chariot in reverse. So, not wanting to do the shadow work. You know what, guys? Sometimes I know the Chariot for me is shadow work, but and if we're reading it the way I said we were with the awareness of, right, the awareness that this is shadow work, the awareness maybe that you don't want to do some shadow work for a while. Like, it's gut-wrenching work, you guys. I tell my clients all the time, they're like, oh, I want to know what shadow work is, an inner child. And I'm like, be careful what you wish for, because it's gut-wrenching. You know, there's people in the world that never revisit shadow work or inner child work, and they're perfectly happy in their coma and lack of growth and so forth. And that's fine. That's fine. I'm not one of those people, but there's nothing wrong with being the one that what's the guy in the Matrix who's like, he says he wants to go back and eat the blue pill or the red pill, whatever the pill it is. And he says, I like steak. I like the taste of steak. I know it's fake. I don't care. I want to go back to it. I want to go back to sleep. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. Maybe you're feeling a little bit like that. I know there's times, guys, when my work gets a little too, I don't know, a little too painful, that I pray at night. I'm like, can I just be done? Can I just be done? And what would that mean if I was done? It would mean I would stop growing. I would stop evolving. I would cease to be me, right? Because that's not who I am. And so I wake up with refreshed and renewed and whatnot. But you reach those points, man, where you're just like, I'm tired. Like, I am tired. Can I not just have, a little bit of easy for once? But if you're wanting knowledge and growth, then by definition, those things are not easy. They're uncomfortable, right? But wanting it, right? The awareness that it is gut-wrenching. The awareness that you have a choice. How about that? There's an awareness that there is a choice. You don't have to. And she's straddling both motorcycles, right? So how can you do both? How can you do both, right? There's very few situations where I tell somebody they can't. And maybe this is one of those situations where I want to live a little bit easier life and still have some involvement and growth. Maybe it's possible. I haven't figured it out yet. When you do, please let me know, because I would love to get on board of that train. But let's keep going. Let's keep going. We got the Page of Pentacles in the reverse. So that's 2 pages we've had in the reverse so far. So having this knowledge about these pentacles and this resources and honoring and being aware of the fact that now you have all this knowledge and now it's time to turn it into wisdom, right? If we're reading the reversals as awareness, being aware that these resources need to be used, right? We can't hoard them. I tell this story about my mom sometimes. I don't talk about my family too much because we're very estranged, but she, my parents are very wealthy and, or were very wealthy. I'm sure they're probably not anymore, but that's a long story. My mom passed away and she spent her whole life saving and scrimping and, well, not really scrimping. I mean, she treated herself, but either way, she spent a lot of time saving and investing because she was convinced that she was going to travel and live a wealthy life when she retired. And do you know, my poor mom passed away before she could retire. And I thought, what a waste. What a waste. She hoarded all those resources. Like how much good did that money in the bank do her? I'm not saying don't put money in the bank, but guys, you gotta use your resources wisely, right? If you're not here to use it, then I don't know, maybe you're working for your kids, that's fine. But knowing when to use those resources and when not to, when to save and when to spend and so forth. And I feel like this is an awareness that we need to start looking at those things a little closer. Do we need to save more? Do we need to spend more? I don't know. But noticing those resources, and I don't often see pentacles as money, but I am seeing it that way today. So just an awareness that finances matter, right? Finances matter. And the knowledge that we have gained through the Ace, through the 10, is time to start putting that into practice. All right, what is the advice for today? The Queen of Wands in reverse. Again, the awareness that you need to come into your power. It's funny, as soon as I said that I would read reversals as awareness, it's like they started jumping out in reverse. It's kind of funny. But the awareness that you are the power. You are the sun. You are the fire. You are the creativity. It's all within you, right? That sunflower is looking directly at her. And maybe it's a little bit of faking it, right? Maybe it's a little bit of imposter syndrome. Maybe it's a little bit of, I'm not really sure if I'm doing this the right way. But we got the Queen and the King of Wands. Very interesting. King and Queen of Wands. I know some people would call that a divine couple. This is what's happening and this is the advice, right? So if the King is the masculine power, then the Queen would be maybe turn on some of that feminine. But actually, it just hit me, since this King of Wands is a female and we got the Queen in reverse, maybe it's time to turn back on some logic. Maybe it's time to channel some of that masculine energy. Maybe we've got an abundance of feminine energy now. What you don't see coming at the bottom of the deck, King of Cups in reverse. I had to finish it because I realized I have about 9 seconds left, but feeling a little dysregulated. That's okay. Use your skills and we'll chat tomorrow, guys.